Transmigrated as a disabled protagonist, how should I continue the script? Chapter 40, Unexpected. Hey, are you the kind-hearted person from before? May I ask who you are? There's someone here caught in the rain, refusing to go inside. The address has been sent to your phone. Wait, aren't you someone he knows? Don't know. Tezuka Osamu repeated what he had said before. His indifferent voice, mixed with the heavy rain, sounded somewhat unclear, making Oda Sakanosuke unable to discern who exactly was the person caught in the rain. He doesn't know me. Protecting Yakimaru's spiritual eye that could distinguish good and evil, cutting open the distance between them. And the person named Tezuka Osamu is just a coward, lacking the courage to step forward. Sharp blades will only make him taste the bitterness, as the black-haired puppet youth wordlessly forces him to recognize one thing: the other party is not anyone's possession. Those with goodwill will receive his kindness, and those with malice will be driven away. Tezuka Osamu does not regret plotting against the GSS organization, nor does he regret causing so many people to die. He just once again feels his own filth. Oda Sakanosuke found an excuse to ask for leave. By the time he stepped out in his raincoat, the rain had somewhat eased, though the weather forecast indicated it would continue through the night. He didn't hesitate after the phone call, tightened his raincoat, and ran toward the address given over the phone. It was a clinic near Suribachi Street, rumored to specialize in treating those without official residency. Upon arriving, Oda Sakanosuke, without a word, grabbed Yakimaru's right arm, who was sitting on the ground. Seeing Yakimaru's seemingly dazed yet indifferent expression, he simply said, "Come inside to take shelter from the rain." The ponytailed teenager had successfully transformed into a chicken that fell into the soup pot, with water all over his face, looking as pitiful as one could be. Even so, Yakimaru didn't forget to point to the book. Oda Sakanosuke wiped his hands dry on his clothes before grabbing the protected red-bound book. A notice was posted on the clinic door, which wasn't locked. A push opened it. Oda Sakanosuke slightly furrowed his brow and cautiously called out, "Sorry to intrude." As his voice sounded, a ceiling-mounted surveillance camera shifted to focus on him, as if silently giving him permission to enter. Oda Sakanosuke noticed that the clinic inside was not as chaotic as he had imagined. Various items, large and small, were piled up against the walls on both sides, with no signs of theft. Clearly, the owner of the clinic had prepared for some level of threat. Medicines and medical tools are things that ordinary people couldn't easily obtain. Oda Sakanosuke removed his raincoat and placed it in the corner, then found a towel to help Yakimaru dry his hair and face, completely unaware that he had just entered the den of the port mafia boss. The towel brushed past his eyes at that moment, and the other person didn't even blink, which made Oda Sakanosuke freeze. Yakimaru remained quietly silent. Afterward, Oda Sakanosuke acted as if he hadn't noticed anything, but his gaze toward Yakimaru became even gentler. When wiping Yakimaru's hands and feet, he was careful to the utmost degree. He didn't mind taking care of this person without any compensation, nor did he care about the other's past. Just like that voice on the phone addressed him, he was willing to be an ordinary, kind-hearted person. However, he still had to face the surveillance camera and say, "Don't casually find a stranger, the safety is too low. I suggest, if you have the money, hire a nanny to take care of him." Surveillance camera. According to his assumption, Yakimaru's guardian, or close relative, probably isn't poor. Once this clinic opens for business, it would earn real money. Yakimaru didn't know what he was doing, but he always looked towards the door, his gaze then shifting to him, thinking sluggishly, "Dororo hasn't come back. Could this person be someone Dororo found to take care of me?" He wasn't stupid. You don't just run into a stranger on the street and then encounter them again so soon after parting ways. Someone like him would make ordinary people feel scared, not daring to get too close. Even those kind-hearted enough to help him wouldn't repeatedly warm their hearts only to meet cold indifference. "Dororo can't see me, is she worried about me?" Yakimaru reached out to touch Oda Sakanosuke's towel, drawing the other's concern. "Is something wrong?" Yakimaru opened his mouth. "Wait. Dororo. Oda Sakamosuke said sorrowfully, I don't know who this Dororo you're talking about is. The person answering the phone sounded angry. I think he still cared about you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked a stranger like me for help. Oda Sakamosuke's hand naturally reached out to touch Yakimaru's head, undoing the hair tie. Modern Japanese men rarely keep long hair. The other's drenched, tangled long hair fell, his skin pale, delicate to the point of resembling a young girl. Yet, there was still an air of determination and fierce resilience, a lone wolf's aura emanating from him. Lone wolf, huh? Oda Sakamosuke once met a similar senior, except that senior was not alone. By his side was an extremely intelligent detective assistant, and the silver wolf sword was never swung for the sake of killing. Oda Sakamosuke said, let me wash your head, it's a bit dirty. After preparing hot water, he brought over a basin. He gently pressed Yakimaru's head down, and as Yakimaru looked on in confusion, the warm water soaked his hair. The act of massaging his scalp brought back memories of when his foster father, Jukai, helped him wash his hair. Is he a good person like father? This world, if everyone were as gentle and kind as Jukai, it would be a beautiful place. Yakimaru closed his spiritual eyes. At this moment, there is no need to doubt, human souls do not lie. Oda Sakamosuke, once an assassin, later stopped killing entirely and joined the port mafia through normal means. His greatest wish was to find a stable job, occasionally help others, do good deeds, and, when inspiration struck, write a novel to fulfill his dream of becoming a writer. Port Mafia Headquarters. The document of this 19-year-old youth was placed on the table. Tezuka Osamu sneezed while locking himself under a fur blanket, as the phone screen played the surveillance video from the clinic. An assassin, of all things. Tezuka Osamu thought he had found a well-meaning citizen, but it turned out to be a port mafia member. He was surprised for a second. Yakimaru's actions were all based on karma, there was no way the assassin could avoid it, no wait. Yakimaru's attitude towards Reborn last time was also subtly indifferent, as if he hadn't seen the #1 hitman. Well, the Arcobaleno belonged to a special case, so they couldn't be judged like ordinary people. But this person was truly a genuine assassin, yet after joining the port mafia, he hadn't killed another person. Could it be that by not killing, one could cleanse oneself? The answer was right in front of him, just lacking someone to experiment on. But could he really wait that long? Tezuka Osamu leaned on the table, watching the surveillance video, his cheeks flushed with a light feverish red. Observing, Yakimaru regained some clarity. Not being touched by his presence, the illusion that maintained his appearance was intact, not frightening this stranger. He could not see, hear, or speak a full sentence, but he was worth saving by many, with Tezuka Osamu being perhaps the least kind-hearted among them. Yakimaru. Don't call, there's no Dororo. Your Dororo is thinking of a way. Oh, my head is spinning. What does it feel like to be so uncomfortable that you want to die? Tezuka Osamu always thought he would die from boredom, but he underestimated the wonders of fate. During a moment of idle observation, he unexpectedly encountered someone who persistently and unwaveringly pursued the light. The loneliness inside him was a strange thing to befriend. He didn't need companionship, he was simply observing Yakimaru from the side. Yet, somehow, Yakimaru managed to catch him, slowly breaking down his distrust towards others. Sometimes, he wondered, if he hadn't brought this person out of the darkness, and if he had already died, would there be someone else who could restore Yakimaru completely and to good health, without asking for a high price in return? No, there wouldn't. Any form of illusion or replacement would demand an exorbitant price. The goodness he couldn't afford, the evil he didn't want to commit, only freedom beyond good and evil was something he could achieve. In the end, just like 10 years later, he would never dare to face Yakimaru again. Zaikuin. Zaikuin. If you're sick, you need to take your medicine. Lying on the table like this isn't good. Elise, go, get some water. Tezuka Osamu, eyes burning so much he couldn't open them, vaguely heard a certain black-clad figure muttering. His body was turned over, and he irritably covered his ears, uncontrollably muttering, "Kill me, this is unbearable." The man paused, his voice carrying a hint of laughter as he said, "You're giving up on Yakimaru? If you don't want him, I'll send someone to take over. Do you think he might follow my orders because of Dororo?" Tezuka Osamu remained silent, deep in thought. Right after, Mori Ogai ordered, "Elise, give him a shot in the butt." Tezuka Osamu immediately jumped up, revived like the dead, and personally grabbed the syringe to inject it into his vein. Mori Ogai said, "Anyway, take a proper rest for me." He reached out to touch the child's forehead, checking the body temperature, then pressed the other down onto the bed and covered him with a light blanket. At 14 years old, the child still fell within his category of care. It wasn't time to exploit his labor just yet. After all, even the god of death wouldn't mistreat a child lost in the realm between life and death. Everything can be dealt with once you wake up. Tezuka Osamu's scattered memories lingered on Mori Ogai's receding hairline. Mori-san is going bald soon. At dawn, Oda Sakanosuke, not accustomed to staying at others' homes, prepared to leave after taking good care of Yakimaru. In a flash faster than lightning, Yakimaru grabbed the hem of his coat. "Where is Dororo?" Oda Sakanosuke truly didn't know Dororo, feeling awkward. He looked at the black-haired boy sitting on the chair, helplessly dialing that number at dawn. "Hello, I'm the one you asked to take care of him." The person on the other end of the line changed. "Thank you, that child really worries everyone. I'm sorry to have troubled you to take care of him for so long." At this moment, a middle-aged man's voice appeared, sending an inexplicable chill down Oda Sakanosuke's spine. Why did this voice sound somewhat like the current leader of the Port Mafia? Oda Sakanosuke dismissed this possibility, thinking that the boss Mori wasn't the kind of person who spoke so pleasantly. He cautiously said, "No need to be polite. I want to ask if you know who Dororo is." The other person responded, "I do." Without giving Oda Sakanosuke the chance to ask more questions, the middle-aged man spoke in a helpless tone, "She is my daughter. Yaki-kun and she are deeply in love, but unfortunately, these two little ones are having a lover argument. Not only did she storm out of my clinic, but she also won't let me see Yaki-kun. So fierce, smashing your own clinic." This was Oda Sakanosuke's first impression of the girl's family. However, Yaki-kun has a friend on Suribachi Street named Nakahara-chuya, and he knows where Dororo is. Ahem, I can't say much more, please inform them for me. Also, it's getting late, I wish you the best of luck. I need to get back to work, providing for a family these days is no easy task. The conversation was interrupted by the person who called himself Dororo's father. Oda Sakanosuke was puzzled, feeling something was off, yet the other person spoke with sincere conviction. Afterward, Oda Sakanosuke obtained the address for Suribachi Street. Helpless, he had to bid farewell to Yakimaru, hurrying to Suribachi Street, searching for Yakimaru's friend, and requesting their assistance in taking care of this boy with missing body parts. Upon receiving the notification, Nakahara-chuya, in a fit of rage, almost smashed through the wall. "What did you say?" He raised his voice, not caring if he disturbed the neighbors. "I brought that blue mackerel there half a month ago, and that bastard left Yakimaru at the clinic, completely neglecting his care." Imagining how he had neglected Yakimaru for half a month, indirectly causing him to suffer waiting at the clinic door, surviving only on raw fish and murky river water each day, Nakahara-chuya felt his lungs about to explode with fury. His blue eyes burned with anger, and the deep red glow of his ability once again manifested around his body. Tezuka Osamu. Oda Sakanosuke discreetly took a step back, finally recalling the identity of this furious young man. The gravity manipulator of Suribachi Street. Wait, who is Tezuka Osamu anyway? Why does that name sound like the favored one by the Port Mafia boss? Oda Sakanosuke didn't think much before asking, "Can you help him find Dororo?" "Find?" Nakahara-chuya laughed in extreme anger, heading toward the outskirts of Suribachi Street, pulling down the brim of his hood. I will take him to find Dororo during the day, guaranteed to smash Dororo's skull right into the wall. So ruthless. Oda Sakamosuke could tell he wanted to vent his anger for his friend and tried to reason with him. That wouldn't be good for someone he likes, though. Nakahara Chiya calmly said, "It doesn't matter, if he's dead, I'll help him find a new one." Oda Sakamosuke. His mind wandered back to the first time he received the call when the other person said Dororo had already been buried. Whether it was true or not, by the time daylight came, he might already be buried. Not mentioning Oda Sakamosuke's confusion, Nakahara Chiya had already found Yakimaru, holding a large bag of food in his hand. "Eat until you're full, then get some sleep. I'll take you to find him during the day." Dororo. "No problem, I'll help you beat him into Disastrous." Yakimaru, with the flame of life burning inside him, suddenly felt a strange sense of peace. "I will definitely be able to see her, right?" "Yes." Nakahara Chiya understood his plea, his blue eyes softened, and the anger toward Tezuka Osamu was smoothed over by Yakimaru. He couldn't tolerate wickedness, nor could he allow Yakimaru to be bullied. Existence is not just for the sake of existing. After the morning's romantic rain, two people arrived in downtown Yokohama. Nakahara Chiya pulled Yakimaru along as they entered the Port Mafia's main entrance. He released his grip, cracking his knuckles, and the sound of bones echoed. The guards at the door watched the two with suspicion. Yakimaru's face was indifferent, while Nakahara Chiya's menacing expression clearly betrayed their intentions. Up in one of the buildings, Tezuka Osamu reluctantly sat up, his bones weak, and his head dizzy. He tore off the fever patch from his forehead and reached over to grab the phone beside his pillow to check the surveillance video. The clinic desk was scattered with fallen packaged food bags. Huh? Did he also buy food? Tezuka Osamu rubbed his temples lightly with his fingertips, leaning against the pillow, pondering whether the armed detective agency would accept custody service. He thought about sending Yakimaru, who could easily be taken by Mori-san, over to the other side. Edogawa Ranpo of the armed detective agency possessed the ability, super detective, so it was likely that without him saying anything, Ranpo would already understand his intentions. He couldn't drag this out any longer. The more he delayed, the more likely things would go wrong. He did not plan to abandon Yakimaru, nor did he want Yakimaru to misunderstand. The best method was to find a safe place, and then push him in that direction until he found someone who could treat Yakimaru. Tezuka Osamu searched through his mind for Fukuzawa Yukichi's business card and called the president of the detective agency. "Hello, I'm Tezuka Osamu." Not long after, Fukuzawa Yukichi's phone was snatched by Edogawa Ranpo, who cheerfully said, "You want to bring Yakimaru to us? Great idea. Hurry up." Tezuka Osamu's smile froze, wondering why the other party was so actively enthusiastic. "He's just storing it. I'm not giving Yakimaru to you." Edogawa Ranpo casually said, "This great detective obviously knows what you're thinking, and I don't mind you turning the armed detective agency into an orphanage. As long as Yakimaru is willing to join the armed detective agency, both the president and I will find a way to connect with ability healers domestically and abroad." Tezuka Osamu's face was expressionless, seemed like Ranpo had guessed his every move. Why did he feel an unusual sense of reluctance in his heart? After interacting with the others, especially Edogawa Ranpo, Yakimaru would gradually come to understand this world better, instead of staying outside the world like him, absorbing that trace of warmth amidst wandering. Alright. He couldn't be clean, so he will let Yakimaru interact with clean people. The sudden blaring of the alarm echoed sharply through the building. Tezuka Osamu suddenly opened his sharp eyes and rushed toward the window, pulling aside the curtain to check the situation below. Suddenly, with his sharp eyesight, he noticed chaos breaking out in the lobby. "Someone has infiltrated the Port Mafia." A voice came from his phone, Edogawa Ranpo is mumbling, "What? He's coming for you." Inside the armed detective agency, in the president's office, a certain detective was slumped on the couch, not letting go of his phone, with a regretful expression. He was so close, just a little more and he could have snatched another member for the agency. If lucky, there could have been a buy one get one free deal. Ah, what a missed opportunity to boost recruitment. President Edogawa Ranpo, hands resting on the chair, looked expectantly at the silver-haired Fukuzawa Yukichi. Fukuzawa Yukichi, what's the matter? Edogawa Ranpo, seemingly wanting to stir up trouble, said, how about we head to the port mafia and steal someone? Fukuzawa Yukichi knocked him on the head, forcing the mischievous idea back. Everyone has their own choices. He listened to the entire conversation. He didn't possess the sharp, solitary minds of Tezuka Osamu and Edogawa Ranpo, but he understood how to respect others' opinions more than these two unruly kids. Even if darkness lies ahead, then march forward without retreat, carving out a path of light. Justice and evil are of the man, not the deed. Port Mafia boss's office, Mori Ogai rested his chin on his hands, then pulled out the landline. That damn dwarf. Unable to reach the boss, Tezuka Osamu slammed the phone down, feverish and frantic, before quickly dialing Nakaharachiya's number. Not giving the other party a chance to speak, he said, take Yakimaru away. Without hesitation, Nakaharachiya replied, you come down here. Tezuka Osamu responded, do you plan to drag Yakimaru into the mafia? He doesn't belong here. Nakaharachiya on the other side was throwing punches with the sound of flesh colliding, along with the clash of swords, making Tezuka Osamu's scalp tingle as he deduced that golden demon Ozaki Koyo had come down. Nakaharachiya arrogantly responded to him. Your thoughts are in disarray, Tezuka Osamu, get down here and face me and Yakimaru. Otherwise, I'll bring Yakimaru up there to beat you. It's not that they don't care, or that they're mindless, but that they have enough belief in their survival. Tezuka Osamu hung up the phone and covered his forehead, it must have been Mori-san who set me up. Taking advantage of my fever, he slipped some kind of sedative into my drink, making me completely unaware that Nakaharachiya went to meet Yakimaru. No, wait, there's no way Mori-san would openly confront me like this. So, why would he do something like that? Those two don't meet on normal days, but at critical moments, they'll pull something super dramatic. Tezuka Osamu decided to forget about it for now and put the blame squarely on Mori Ogai. However, Mori Ogai was also quite troubled. Mori Ogai bitterly laughed as he looked at the second letter in his hand, sent by Natsume Soseki. In the letter, the teacher severely criticized him, stating that there were problems with his education methods, and asked if he was planning to start over again. Natsume-sensei. I didn't intend to set them up. Sigh, why does no one believe me? In front of him, Elise burst out in laughter. The blonde-haired girl slammed the table and said, that's what you get for poaching what sensei had his sight on. Sure enough, you got scolded by him. The Port Mafia was now facing the greatest crisis since the change in leadership. They were being attacked right at their doorstep. Chapter 40 End.